The streets of Paris are alive with excitement. Crowds gather, their faces beaming with hope and anticipation. The air buzzes with whispers of liberty, equality, fraternity. It's 1789 and the French Revolution has begun. Imagine a world where the common people finally have a voice, where oppressive feudal systems crumble and the tyranny of absolute monarchy gives way to the dawn of democracy. The Bastille, that looming symbol of royal authority, lies in ruins. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen is penned, promising a new era of freedom and justice for all. But fast forward 5 years, and the scene looks very different. The year is now 1794. As the crowd gathers in the Place de la Révolution, a palpable tension hangs in the air. The guillotine stands tall, a menacing presence in the morning fog. A cart rumbles across the cobblestones, carrying today's condemned. Among them, a former noble, his powdered wig long gone, a priest clutching a crucifix, and a shopkeeper accused of hoarding bread. Their faces are a canvas of emotions, fear, defiance, resignation. The crowd jeers as the prisoners are led to the scaffold. Some spectators are here for justice, others for entertainment. The first victim ascends the steps, legs trembling. In a matter of moments, it's over. The blade falls with a sickening thud, his head rolling into a basket as cheers erupt from the onlookers. The terror reaches far beyond Paris. In Nantes, victims are loaded onto boats and drowned in the Loire River. In Lyon, mass executions by cannon fire literally paint the streets red. Throughout France, an estimated 300,000 suspects are arrested, with tens of thousands meeting grisly ends. No one is safe from suspicion. A careless word, a denouncement from a jealous neighbor, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time can lead to the scaffold. At the center of this maelstrom stands a man, once hailed as the Incorruptible. This is Maximilien Robespierre, the architect of the Reign of Terror. How did the French Revolution's lofty ideals descend into such brutality? How did a man who once opposed the death penalty become its greatest proponent? To understand this dark transformation, we must delve into the life of Robespierre and the tumultuous events that shaped both him and the revolution he came to embody. The year is 1758. In the quaint town of Arras, Maximilien François-Marie Isidore de Robespierre enters a world on the brink of change. Young Maximilien's childhood is far from idyllic. At the tender age of 6, tragedy strikes. His mother, Jacqueline, dies in childbirth, leaving behind a devastated family. Unable to cope with his grief, Robespierre's father, François, abandons his children, disappearing into the mists of history. Left in the care of his maternal grandparents and aunts, Maximilien finds solace in books and learning. His brilliance shines through the clouds of his troubled youth, earning him a scholarship to the prestigious Collège Louis le Grand in Paris. It's here, in the heart of the French capital, that the seeds of revolution are planted in his young mind. Robespierre devours the works of Enlightenment philosophers, but one voice speaks to him above all others: Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The ideas of social contract, popular sovereignty, and virtue resonate deeply with the young scholar. Little does he know how these concepts will shape his future and the fate of a nation. Returning to Arras after his studies, Robespierre embarks on a career in law. He quickly gains a reputation as a champion of the underprivileged, taking on cases pro bono for those who cannot afford legal representation. His oratory skills and unwavering principles earn him the admiration of many. Perhaps most ironically, given his later actions, Robespierre was an outspoken opponent of the death penalty. In a 1780 essay, he argued eloquently for its abolition, calling it legal murder and questioning society's right to take a life. As rumblings of discontent grew louder across France, Robespierre's reputation as a man of integrity and his eloquent defense of Enlightenment ideals caught the attention of local voters. In 1789, he was elected as a representative to the Estates General, setting him on a path that would forever alter the course of French history. Meanwhile, on July 14, 1789, Paris erupts. The people, fueled by years of oppression and recent food shortages, storm the Bastille. The sound of cannon fire and the roar of the mob echo through the streets. This medieval fortress, a symbol of royal authority, falls to the revolutionary fervor. As news of the Bastille's fall spreads, Robespierre's heart races with excitement. The ideals he has long cherished are finally taking shape in the real world. In the newly formed National Assembly, Robespierre quickly distinguishes himself as a passionate orator, earning his famous nickname, the Incorruptible. In an era filled with political opportunism and bribery, Robespierre's steadfast adherence to his principles set him apart. He lived modestly, refusing gifts and maintaining a simple lifestyle that reflected his egalitarian ideals. Yet, storm clouds are gathering on the horizon. The royal family's attempted flight to Varennes in June 1791 shatters what little trust remains between the monarchy and the people. Robespierre's words grow more radical, more uncompromising. The king must die, he declares, so that the country may live. The once gentle lawyer who opposed the death penalty is transforming before the eyes of the nation. King Louis XVI is executed in January 1793, sending shockwaves through France and marking a point of no return. Queen Marie Antoinette's execution follows soon after. As the revolution rages on, Robespierre's fervent idealism begins to curdle into a toxic brew of suspicion and fear. The declaration of war against Austria in April 1792 sends his imagination into overdrive, and he becomes convinced that foreign powers are weaving a vast conspiracy to strangle the revolution. But it isn't just the enemies at the gates that haunt Robespierre's every waking moment. The streets of Paris are abuzz with discontent, as price controls he had championed to ease the burden on the poor only seem to make things worse. Breadlines snaked through the city, and the whispers of the hungry and the desperate began to sound like a chorus of treason to his ears. Everywhere he looks, Robespierre sees the shadowy hand of sabotage at work. Hoarders and speculators, he is convinced, are secretly manipulating the markets to bring the revolution to its knees. And so, in the midst of this fevered atmosphere, the Committee of Public Safety is born, its mandate to defend the revolution against the gathering forces of darkness. As the committee's power grows, so does Robespierre's conviction that terror was the only means to save the revolution, claiming terror is nothing other than justice, prompt, severe, inflexible. The law of suspects, passed in September 1793, gives the committee carte blanche to arrest and execute anyone deemed a threat to the Republic. The definition of suspect is deliberately vague, allowing Robespierre and his allies to cast a wide net of suspicion over enemies of the people, a catch-all phrase that is applied to anyone who disagrees with them. The terror's appetite is insatiable. An estimated 300,000 suspects are arrested and around 30,000 executed, their deaths a grim testament to the revolution's descent into madness. Most of those executed are peasants, workers, or the middle class. The revolution has devoured its children, and Robespierre, once the incorruptible champion of the people, has become the face of tyranny. But the very terror sustaining Robespierre's power ultimately proves to be his undoing. Many that had initially supported the Committee of Public Safety now began to see Robespierre as a monster, consumed by his own paranoia and ambition. In July 1794, a group of deputies see an opportunity to strike when Robespierre, exhausted and increasingly isolated, makes a crucial mistake. On July 26th, he delivers a speech to the convention denouncing his enemies and calling for further purges. But his words fall flat, and the deputies, sensing their chance, turn against him. The Thermidorian reaction, as it comes to be known, is swift and merciless. Robespierre is arrested along with his closest allies and thrown into prison. The very next day, he is summarily executed by guillotine, his head falling into the basket alongside those of his friends and colleagues. The Reign of Terror is finally at an end, but the scars it has inflicted on France will take decades to heal. The fall of Robespierre marks the end of the Reign of Terror, but the consequences of his actions will be felt for generations to come. The French Revolution, once a beacon of hope and liberty, is forever tainted by the atrocities Robespierre and his supporters committed. While phrases such as enemies of the people and the justification of tyranny in the name of safety remain in the playbook of tyrants and dictators from Stalin to Mao to Hitler up to the present day. Thanks for watching. Check out this video here for more unmissable stories. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more.